They're probably 10 years ago. You think they were asleep?
Yeah, that's funny. Like, why should I stand up and join There's like screen in on the roof. Let's let me borrow his zippers in. Hi. Right, now let's check to see if Pa's awake. Oh, he's awake.
That's alright. When I'm back
Here's my sister Cass, busy crocheting.
I take the bus ride.
And there's the sponsor of our bills. Representing parts of Keys, right? We're not just, so we're just waiting for it to get underway.
I don't think that's what you're supposed to
Now I'm definitely jealous of Lewis's natural cuts. I will when we get kind of underway. Alright, let's do some quizzes and Alright, who did we find here in the audience? It's Rob Link from Repair.org.
The one and only?
Yes. I got a quiz question for you that you're probably not going to know because I don't know what it is.
Awesome.
What does it mean when you see on the board majority whip? The whip.
I believe the whip is the one who whips the votes.
What's that mean?
Gets people to vote for what they want them to vote for.
All right, let's ask the tractor guys. All right, hey tractor guys, do you guys know when you see the word minority whip? The whip, like minority whip.
He's the guy who goes around and gets all the votes rallies. His administrative.
Now, are you allowed to talk to me? Because obviously you're on the opposition side, right? So we're enemies, right? I'll fight you in the parking lot later. Okay?
Here we go. If you can get this meeting started,
then you can. All right. Let's whip this. That's what it must be. I heard the longer a meeting takes, the more likely you get coronavirus. Oh, see? Killed one off. Yeah.
We're just tired of moving.
Hi, Lewis. Let's check out my Zoom. We're making friends over here, me and the tractor guys. They said they were going to vote proponent if we could get this meeting started. So, whip it up. Do you think that's not appropriate because we're in a court? It's not really court. I think this is a court. When's Judge Judy getting here?
Wait a minute. Maybe I misunderstood.
Here's my new friend. Watch. I'm going to see if this guy has done anything. Hi. What's your name?
Hey, I'm Andrew Rogers.
Good job.
I remembered my name.
I know. Yeah. See, earlier, Andrew refused to tell me his name.
Well, I was like,
how far you come?
I'm coming from Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
So it was about a 30-minute drive, but been a long-time watcher of both your channel and Lewis's channel, and that's how I found out that this was going on
Do you
today.
think my channel's better than Lewis's channel?
I think
That's it. All right, you're fired.
I like the educational content. I think you definitely
are better than Lewis. That's all you have to say.
I'm like a fangirl for both of you guys. I can't pick favorites.
No comment on his part.
Let's see. Does anybody in chat remember this guy?
Hello.
Let's see. Can you zoom in on your on your logo?
Yes.
Yes.
Here is Sam's Screen Repair.
Yeah, this is a Rossman Discord moderator in the flesh. Wow. This is Sam, famous for inspiring me to get Apple certified. Sam, are you Apple certified?
I'm Apple certified for both iOS and Mac.
Let's see your
Yes.
business card.
My business card?
Can you
Yes.
say it on there?
Where's my business card?
This is
I ran
Sam's
out.
mom, who he's bossing around and making her do
Yeah.
like a Sherpa.
Yeah.
I, she's getting
Did you get
ready
a
to
shirt?
smack
He's got
him.
a-
I'm sure, yeah. I ran out of business cards. Here we go.
Oh, here it is.
Here's my Apple certified iOS technician.
Very nice.
I haven't updated it. It should say Mac soon, but
Yes, very good.
yes.
Subscribers, my MacBook.
Yeah.
I also have the world's tiniest MacBook here today,
That is a really tiny MacBook.
It
Wow.
has the same CPU as the CPU books.
but it has active cooling and it actually works. I've been punishing this thing for a year straight,
Wow.
swapping to disk, just running it hot. It survives. So
Is
it's,
that what you made in your hackerspace?
one of the things I do, but yeah, it's running Linux. macOS is a VM on this tiny laptop.
That is very tiny.
So there's my my Twitter as multi-touch.
Yeah, I think
It's fun.
All right, very good. And let's see who else we can talk to. What up, James?
Hey.
All right, James is too afraid to testify, but do you regret that decision now?
Well, I'm getting tired now. We've been here since.
I know. So if you had signed up, you would at least kind of have a little bit of like nervousness that would keep you going to sustain you in this
Yeah.
really boring time.
I feel like I could probably speak for 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah. And I think that's a real important lesson for people in other states that might be thinking, well, is it really like to go to these things? I don't know what I would say. You know.
Right. So with me, I like to come prepared, and everything being last minute, I'm like, I'm just gonna observe and see what's going on. But I mean, it's not that bad.
It's not that big of a
It's not
deal.
that big of a deal,
And these
yeah.
guys really need to hear from
Yeah.
the people. No, you stop listening because you're the enemy. All right? We don't want you to know all our secrets.
Know your secrets.
Yeah. We're wise to you. All right. Okay. Well, there's Lisa. Lisa's not going to turn around. She doesn't want to get put on the internet. Sorry about that, Lisa. I'll leave you alone. For now. Oh, Lewis.
Why do you have nobody needs to zoom like that?
All right, now let's see whether or not my dad is asleep or not. He was sleeping quite a bit. He had to be woken up. Hey, Pop.
Stop yelling.
Oh, he can't hear.
You're gonna have to scream at him. You can't scream in here.
Hey, Pa, are you awake? way to hurry it along. Yeah, there's some more repair fans in the back.
This is my friend Bowie from Unallocated Space. It's part of one
Yeah,
of
that's
the,
Bowie, not from Bowie, although he lives near Bowie. And his old Bowie ancestors invented Bowie, including Governor Bowie. Isn't that correct?
So
Pay attention.
we have a non-profit unallocated space, our hackerspace, our local hackerspace that is at least 3 of us. One of our members is here, but not in the room right now. Have showed our support. We're getting behind this because we very much want our devices to be able to be repaired.
Yeah, and you guys are going to both testify? Very good. All right. All right, very good. All right, let's see if I can... We have some legislators coming in. This is the House. Also today is the same bill being heard in the Senate. So we're having to guess which one is going to be first. And we think that we're going to be here probably the second thing discussed. Chief Giovanni says your channel is much more fun to watch. That's right, Giovanna.
That is from fanning the flames.
They need to serve drinks in here. We're just about everyone in this audience. Not yet. But all right, Cassie, I want you to find somebody you don't know and make
I show us finding friends. I already made friends. I'm the one who introduced all these people to you.
That's true. Except for Andrew, I tried. I tried.
Oh, yeah.
And he was just like, hi! And I'm like, who are you? I love your channel.
Yeah.
And I had to tell him, this is where it would be appropriate to say your name, like my name is.
I forgot my name. Like I forgot everything, but like I remembered how to breathe and like something about fine dining. Like, that's all I remembered.
that was it.
Yeah.
So here we have some.
Right.
We have some fashion in the among the law. Oh, this camera is super heavy. This is yeah, but 2:43. Hearing starts at 1. Does anyone know if we're going to be doing daylight savings time or?
Like a second one.
There's Drew. Drew used to be a page. If he watched my channel, which he doesn't, then he would get a kick out of the Good King Wenceslas line, which is how does it go?
On the Feast of Stephen?
Yeah, on the Feast of Stephen. It says, "Page and monarch, first they went, forth they went together."
No. What verse is that?
5 or 6, I don't know.
Yeah, that no one would know that.
That's
So
not
even
true.
if he watched that on your YouTube channel, he would be like, "What?"
That's not true. That is fake news. Fake news. All right, let's see what it's like a day in the life of would you want to be a lawmaker when you grow up? I think they have a pretty sweet movie book. And they have this like a lot of cool technology. There's like 4 or 5 TVs built into the table. Did I let the state trooper?
Yes.
Right.
What state trooper?
He sits over there by the other camera.
Yeah, we got and not smashing that like button. But you're someone that I don't know. So what's your name?
Steve Sakamoto Wengel with the Maryland Attorney General's office.
Okay. And are you here in Maryland? It's favorable or unfavorable or favorable with amendment?
We are favorable on right to repair.
All right.
Yep.
My new BFF. Well, I grew up in Maryland and now live in Rochester, New York. So we came down just for this very special hearing.
Which part of Maryland?
I'm from the Eastern Shore.
Okay.
I'm from Worcester County.
Worcester, yep. You pronounced it correctly, so you
That's
clearly
right.
are.
So must be checks out. Ocean City. So Snow Hill. I've been surprised. I've met a lot of kids around here from Maryland today, and none of them know any of the county seats that we had to learn in 3rd grade, even from the 7th grade. And none of the pages over there knew who Barbara Fritchie was, with this old gray hair. You know, like, oh, you remember that? I think. Barbara Fritchie. All right, let's. How do we say look up Barbara Fritchie?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
We're monitoring that to see when they're going because they're moving through bills pretty quickly over there.
Yeah, that'll be a drag if it's like, well,
I don't think it'll happen.
what are they on right now?
Disabled Reduced Fare Program for Opioid Treatment Program patients.
Are they the ones that had the facial ID bill? Because
That hasn't come up yet either. Yeah.
Okay.
For testimony?
Someone may take it.
Oh, no.
Is that,
They have their...
yeah, if you go back to, I don't have to, I can put security, but you guys have to go through security and walk out, so it's quick. Yeah, rats.
Here we go. What is Andrew's Twitter?
Box on it.
Yeah. Andrew is @ Tux like what you wear to the prom, Andrew.
I'm a nerd, so it's
Okay. Okay, tux, then what?
I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to the House Economic Matters Committee. Today is Wednesday, March 11th. We have 5 bills before us. The first being House Bill 1278, Delegate Shetty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Chair Davis, Vice Chair Dumais, and friends and colleagues of the House Economic Matters Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of HB 1278. This is a bill that will help our state address the plague that is known as robocalls. For the record, I am Delegate Emily Shetty, here to ask for a favorable report on this bill. Robocalls are the bane of most of our existence. Not only are they a nuisance, but they are dangerous and predatory and disproportionately harm seniors by ruthlessly targeting them with scams, fake charities, social security threats, and other false promises. What this bill will do is help cut off robocalls at the source by requiring VoIP service providers in Maryland to know who their commercial customers are and gather information from individuals who are using their networks to place thousands to millions of calls per minute. The information that they will be required to collect is the legal name and the name in which the individual does business, contact information, physical location of the primary place of business, the state and country of origin, the federal tax ID, and the nature of the business. The idea for this bill came from a 50-state agreement signed in August of last year by all attorney generals, including Attorney General Frosch, and most of the major telecom companies, including those who were signed up to testify in opposition to this bill. This bill merely codifies the Know Your Customer requirement that is outlined in that agreement. What it will do is assist the attorney generals who are attempting to investigate the bad actors by collecting contact information so that the AGs can actually pursue legal action against those who are using our networks to do harm. It is already illegal here in Maryland to place unregistered, unsolicited robocalls, and our laws are actually quite strong. Violation includes penalties ranging from $5,000 and imprisonment to revocation of telemarketing licenses and the ability to conduct legitimate business for up to 10 years. However, how can we pursue action against individuals if we don't even know who they are? That's what this bill seeks to address, and what the telecom companies have already agreed to do as part of the agreement in August of last year. To be clear, the telecom companies hate robocalls just as much as we do. Robocalls clog the networks. They make service slower for customers who are seeking to engage in legitimate business and personal activity. And to their credit, the companies have delivered on a number of the promises that they signed on to in the agreement. One major promise was that at no charge to consumers, the companies would begin to utilize call screening tools to better identify potential scam calls and note that on our personal phones. You might have noticed that when you get these calls, you see this like likely scam note that comes up. I commend them for doing this great work and ensuring that all these calls are better able to be screened by all of us. This is a major step forward that has undoubtedly helped to protect seniors and others in our communities. However, we must do more to protect consumers from these calls, and requiring telecom companies to collect this information will be a powerful way to ensure that when a bad actor engages in this activity, they will be caught and subjected to Maryland's strong penalties. According to recent studies, Maryland ranked #1 as the state most bothered by robocalls in 2019, and victims in our state have actually lost $1.8 million just to the IRS impersonation scam alone as of January 31st of 2018, and I'm sure that number has grown since. As I've shared in this committee in the past, my elderly godmother was actually targeted by a crime ring of robocallers, and she lost over $150,000 of her life savings. So this issue is really personal to me. On behalf of each of these victims and the countless others who are subjected to unnecessary robocalls daily, I respectfully request a favorable report. Thank you.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
And Mr. Chairman, typically out of respect to my opposition, I usually stay, but I have to testify in another committee, so with your indulgence, I may have to leave. Thank you.
No problem. Patrick Halley, Sean Mooney.
Chairman, members of the committee, Sean Mooney from Comcast. Respectfully in opposition to this legislation, well-intentioned, and we are in violent agreement that we all hate robocalls, but there is no way we can do what this bill is asking or requiring us to do. And the memorandum of understanding is that we will do our very best to our best ability to identify, if in fact we can find out who these folks are. I asked like 20 different people at Comcast, is there any way we can know who's making these robocalls? And we just can't. So it's a great idea. I wish we could identify them and better cut off the robocalls so I wouldn't be bothered in my house, but we just can't do it. And none of the telecom companies can do it. It's just not technically possible to do this. So for that reason, I request an unfavorable report. Thank you.
Any questions? Dalia Wilson.
Sean, thank you for coming today. My question really is, but she's asking you to collect certain information. You can't do that either?
We don't know who makes robocalls.
No. The information that, to my understanding, is, you know, certain specific information from your commercial customers. You can't do that?
The way I'm reading the bill says that we collect information on companies doing robocalling, and we don't know who's doing robocalling.
But okay, so it's back separate. But you do know, is it possible for you to get all this contact information that she suggested from each of your customers, or at least your commercial customers?
We could provide you, anyone, a database of every one of our commercial customers. You'll have no idea whether they're making robocalls or not.
And what about, you know, use of bandwidth, things of that nature? I know there are certain determining factors that could increase the chance that these folks are using more than just, you know, for regular day-to-day business. The amount of bandwidth that they use, the times that they call, things of that nature.
That would require us to monitor their calling activity, and we would have to monitor the calling activity of all of our customers. And I can guarantee you, especially after this work group meets on privacy and comes back, we're probably not going to be allowed. I don't think anyone wants Comcast to monitor each and every phone call that people make to determine whether that's a robocall or not.
And I appreciate that, but that's not what I was asking. I was saying bandwidth, what I'm not talking about. And I always say this because it would be nice if we could do something more than we're doing. And I know you guys are doing a lot, but I don't disagree with the delegates' vision because it's horrific. It's a great now where myself, I just don't answer and miss out on a lot of money because of it. So I know what you can't do, and I appreciate that, but it would be really nice if some of the opponents could tell us about what they can do, what we think we can do, how we could actually do something in Maryland to, you know, stem this tide, because it's not getting better, it is actually getting worse.
Absolutely, we have heard from our customers. That's why we are trying to do things that, again, we guess via AI analytics that it might be a robocall, and we'll indicate to customers that it might be a robocall. Even then, we've had complaints because they'll say, hey, my realtor called me and they called from a different number and you identified it as a possible robocall and I didn't answer the call. So it's a very imprecise science. We're doing the best we can because we know our customers hate it and we want to keep our customers. So this is it's a war, and you know, as each side escalates the technology, we're trying to stay ahead of the other side. But you know, honestly, the person in Costa Rica or Thailand, they're not going to care about Maryland law.
One last thing, is it easy to determine who's calling from within Maryland and who's calling from outside of Maryland?
No.
There's no way of telling.
Especially if they're not our customer. If they are our customer and the call originates on our network, we may be able to determine that.
But that's what she's asking you to monitor your customers, correct? Not all customers. Not all calls that come through, but just your customers by the stills design.
Yeah, and that is equally impossible to do.
You see where I'm going, right?
Oh, I see where you're going. It would be great if we could do it, and if there was some technology, and maybe there will be. I mean, maybe someone will invent a technology that could.
Oh, just like this,
Where I'm going? You don't like to think on where I'm going?
No.
To the next witness.
Yes.
Delegate Curry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I'm sitting here looking and no one, I hate these robocalls. And I keep hearing you say over and over again, there's no way, there's no such thing, no way, that you can, all of your customers that complains to y'all, first of all, let me ask this question, how many complaints you got? Do you have a number of the complaints that your customers have call you and tell you about some of these robocalls? You don't have a number, do you?
I could find that from our customer service people. I'm sure if they track that specifically as far as that kind of complaint, I'm sure I can get that data, or I'll ask for it if you'd like to see it.
Yeah, and you said you want so much to make your customers happy. And I'm one of your customers. And so I want to be happy. So I want to be happy. So I want to know that your company is going to try, not say you can't do this, but try to find a way to stop some of these robocalls from your company, okay? Because you have a good company now. Your company about this. Is there any way, can you just say we will try?
We are trying. I can say that with confidence. We are trying to get ahead of this problem, and we welcome any and all suggestions as to how to do it.
Hey, well, I'm going to see what you're going to do because I'm going to monitor you. And then I'm going to call in and make sure I keep a number of all the calls that I get that I can't stand. Okay? Personally. Okay? Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is along the line of my colleagues. So are you suggesting, Mr. Looney, that this is an industry-wide issue? That if I were to ask, let's say Verizon or one of your competitors, they would give similar answers? It sounds like it's very reactive, and that maybe it's safe to say there's no plan in place to really tackle this issue. It's almost like we don't really know how to deal with this or mitigate it.
No, we are trying to deal with this issue as best we can, but there are limits to technology and what we can do. So the only way you could conclusively do what this bill requires us to do would be for us to somehow, and I don't know that we can even do this, but we would have to monitor every phone call made in our network to determine whether that is a robocall or not. And I asked 20 different people at Comcast, and I'm sure Verizon asked their engineers and their people the same question. There is no technical way to determine that right now.
But there's got to be some ways that you guys are already doing something to mitigate the volume, right?
All we're doing, as I told Delegate Wilson, is we use AI analytics to say this may be a robocall based upon a computer model when we notice a certain pattern of calling. But even that is not 100% accurate, because if it's a little league, for example, that wants to send out a notice that the game has been canceled because of rain, and they have 200 kids that play on these teams, and if we were to flag that and somehow stop that, then the little league people would be upset with us for stopping the calls when they're saying, hey, all we're doing, we're calling people who asked us to call them to let them know when a game is being canceled. So there is no perfect technology yet. I'm sure there's some really smart people somewhere working on technology, but it's not there yet.
Well, thank you. I just want to say, I hope you sense the deep frustrations among legislators.
Yes.
And we hope you have some more proactive plans in place to instead of using the excuse of technological challenges. I think this is a widespread problem.
Yeah.
Delegate Aaron.
Just real quick, Sean, I get a phone call this morning that says potential spam. How's that happen? Is that the artificial?
That's the artificial intelligence analytics. We look at this, and again, I'm not an engineer, I'm a lobbyist, but we try to do the best we can using the technology we have at on our network to say, is this potentially, and by the way, that could have been your wife calling from a business location that you wanted to get a call. But again, the technology is trying to do the best it can, and this was part of this memorandum of understanding, that using the technology available to us today, we're going to do the best we can to identify this. So that's why you see that. And we're doing the best we can with the technology available to us, but the bad guys have lots of money too, and like I said, this is like a war of attrition at this point.
Mr. Chairman. So the sponsor, and I'm sorry she's not here because I would be interested in hearing her thoughts and your response to this later, talked about this sort of national pact with attorney generals, and she said that companies, were you all involved with that conversation and that commitment?
I was not directly involved.
And you personally was Comcast?
Yeah, Comcast is involved, yes.
And so what she's saying is that what this bill does is it takes the agreement that was made in that context and puts it into Maryland law. Is that your understanding?
Well, that's kind of true. What it does, the memorandum of understanding was to say, we as an industry will do the best job we can with the technology available to manage this problem. Well, this bill is saying, you have to do this right away and do this 100% fail-safe detection system, which we don't have, and we never made a commitment at the federal level with the AG memorandum of understanding.
So what did you mean in the commitment you made with that memorandum of understanding with the AG? What did you understand your commitment to be that you're putting into place?
Our commitment is to do the very best we can with available technology to manage this problem.
Can you give an example of that?
An example is when we use our AY system, if we detect calls that might be spam, we notify customers of that to let them know maybe you don't want to answer this call because it could be a potential robocall.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes our hearing on House Bill 1278. I'd now like to go to House Bill 1124, Delegate Philmar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I bring my sponsor panel up with me?
Sure.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, committee members. For the record, I'm Delegate Justin Feldmark. I'm pleased to be here to present House Bill 1124. I have a robust panel today, so I'll keep my overview fairly simple. House Bill 1124, right to repair, would allow consumers to exercise the full rights of ownership over the products they purchase, including the right to repair those products. Now, this sounds pretty simple and straightforward, so why does it require legislation? Because unfortunately, over time, and with the advancement of technology, manufacturers have made it more and more expensive and more inconvenient to repair products, especially digital electronic products. Some manufacturers retain the ability to repair their products exclusively for themselves, and some choose to negotiate business agreements with designated authorized repair providers. As a result, it becomes too expensive, too inconvenient, or in some cases, simply impossible to make even simple repairs, because the manufacturer can simply choose not to repair a product, requiring the consumer to purchase a new one. This leaves the consumer with the only choice to purchase a replacement product or go without. And the reality is, in the course of our world today, given our dependence on electronic devices, going without isn't really a viable option. So the only choice is to purchase a new product. So this is problematic for several reasons. First, as I mentioned earlier, consumers lose their full rights of ownership in not being able to repair the products they own. They're forced to spend more money on overpriced repairs or purchasing replacements. Our stream of electronic waste is an ever-growing burden and strain on our environment. And our small businesses that provide independent repair services are suffering. House Bill 1124 addresses these problems by requiring manufacturers to make the necessary documentation, parts, tools, or updates available to independent repair providers or owners on fair and reasonable terms. This will help us keep more money in consumers' pockets and in our local economy. It will decrease the proliferation of electronic waste, and it will help us be more sustainable and resilient by maintaining a strong network of independent repair businesses. I ask for your favorable report. Thank you.
Chairman, my name is Emily Scar with Maryland PERG, the State Public Interest Research Group. We have small donor members across the state. We support HB 1124, right to repair, or as we like to call it, just let us fix our stuff. Companies are using their power in the marketplace to make it harder to repair things, or even designing them to fail. And when we can't fix them, we have to buy new, as the delegate said, which has drastic consequences for our environment and our pocketbooks. To be clear, this policy is already in effect for car manufacturers and independent repair shops through a voluntary legal agreement that they created, an MOU, similar to what we heard before, after Massachusetts passed a similar law like this in 2014. So what we're doing is taking that law and agreement that's worked for car manufacturers and applying it to all electronic devices. It's tested and it works. While no state has taken action yet, states introducing bills that has pushed some of the industry to move in the right direction, which is great to hear. But we know that we're going to need legislation and to ensure that all companies are actually enforcing right to repair and making sure that folks have access to the tools and information they need to repair things. So when you need to repair a smartphone, an electronic device, your washing machine is smart these days even, or a computer-enabled tractor, you need things like spare parts, documentation, and diagnostic software and specialty tools. And so what we're doing is actually breaking up the monopoly that those manufacturers have with them in their licensed repair shops, and so that independent repair shops and some very handy individuals, but more likely independent repair shops, can fix things. We estimate that Marylanders throw at 7,000 cell phones each day, and electronic waste is the fastest stream of waste in the world. I just want to address one concern on cybersecurity. This does not in any way affect people's ability to actually edit code. I'm not a coder, so we have lots of other folks who can ask technical questions. But devices are either secure or they're not, and the information we're asking for shouldn't jeopardize that. So with that, I recommend a favorable report. Thanks for your time.
Good afternoon, committee chairman and committee members. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Rob Link from the Repair Association. We're a small nonprofit advocating for right to repair. Today I'm here to represent the thousands of repair people and repair shop owners who take good care of our technology every single day. I myself used to own a successful repair business in the DC metro area, a small business that at one point had 10 repair shop locations and employed 75 people. I tried for years to get Apple's attention to help them repair their devices, iPhones, iPads, and iPods, that I saw in my shop every single day. Unfortunately, the only attention I got from Apple was negative. More on that in a second. Right to repair legislation is past due. Today I want to talk to you about small business. The vast majority of independent repair shops around the country are small businesses. Many of them people who have found their niche in the world and have lifted themselves and their families up. Some are here today. Or they're watching this broadcast to see what you will do. Why? Because they're under attack from large corporations who want to restrict repair in order to sell more devices when, in many cases, a new device is not needed. This monopoly on repair has to end now before some more small business people are hurt. In Maryland, small business thrives. You know that. There are over 581,000 small businesses in Maryland, which is 99.5% of Maryland businesses. 1.1 million people are employed by these small businesses, which is more than 50% of Maryland's private workforce. Since my time's limited, I'm going to skip ahead. I was going to tell you a little bit of story about my business and how Apple came in, raided my shops with ICE agents to try to find customs infractions, scared my staff half to death, almost arrested a couple of them, and it led to the downfall of our business. I have that in my notes that I filed if anybody's interested in reading that story. I sold my business in 2016 because I just could not compete with Apple. Right now we need right to repair because small business is getting hurt bad, and I'll just be another second here. Capital Mac in Baltimore, after 3 decades of business, recently closed. They were at Apple Sales and Service Authorization. District Repair in DC closed after 10 years of business and a perfect 5-star Yelp rating. They had joined an Apple pilot program just 6 months before they were forced to close up shop. I could name others. Why do we need right to repair in Maryland? In the last 12 months, more than 746,000 Marylanders went to iFixit to find repair guides and repair parts to fix their stuff. In a soon-to-be-released survey, 89% of independent repair technicians said that they would be more successful if they had access to repair software from Apple or Samsung. Maryland legislators, the ball is now in your court.
We really need to wrap.
I'm closing right now, I promise, sir. I apologize. It's the first time to do this. First time to do this. Please pass the required right to repair legislation. I apologize, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the committee. I am Emily Ranson with Clean Water Action, and we have submitted testimony that many other environmental groups have signed on as well. We're very interested in right to repair legislation in order to give Marylanders the right and option to repair their belongings and extend their usable life. And that reduces the waste that is both landfilled or burned or generated when devices have to simply be purchased new. The right to repair enables consumers to practice the principles of reduce, reuse, and recycle. If Marylanders were able to hold on to our phones for just 1 more year on average, it would reduce the climate pollution equivalent to taking 11,000 cars off the road. And it would have significant savings in our, when we're looking at raw mineral use as well. So right to repair enables consumers to keep their belongings working longer and reduces the demand for raw materials, transportation, as well as space. So one of the best ways to reduce this growing issue of electronic waste is to interrupt the market pressures that are forcing all of us to replace products. And instead, if we have widespread and reasonable opportunities to repair and reuse, we can extend their life. So once again, this will allow millions of tons of useful products to remain in use instead of filling landfills, and more impactfully, it will reduce the burden of source material, manufacturing, and transportation of unnecessary new devices. So thank you, and we urge a favorable report.
Good afternoon, Chairman Davis, Vice Chair Dumais, members of the committee, Steve Sakamoto-Wengel, here on behalf of the Consumer Protection Division of the Attorney General's Office. We are here in support of House Bill 1124. I won't repeat what has been said, just want to note that when the auto repair market was opened up to independent facilities, it both made it more convenient for consumers to get their automobiles repaired, as well as lowered the cost for consumers. We believe that the same thing should happen with electronics. So we urge a favorable report on this bill. Thank you.
Delegate Walker.
Thank you. I'm still just trying to get the bill a little bit. So this is saying if I've got an iPhone and I don't want to go to Apple to have it repaired, I can go to a private store, a private shop, and you all can fix it. But at the end of the day, my phone is still, it's on the shelf life. It only built to last for so long, right? So you all are saying if we pass this bill, then instead of me having to get rid of the phone that day, I may be able to extend the life for a year?
Yeah, or longer. So right now you can take your phone to Apple. There's some repairs that Apple won't even do that independent repair shops can. So I think one of them is the charging port. So if you go into Apple and say, hey, my phone's not charging, they'll say, we don't repair that, you should get a new one. You're up for a free upgrade and they'll give you a new one. Or an independent chip salesperson could. So what this is doing is making sure that any repair shop has the same tools that an Apple store can, and materials.
So you all can fix a charging port?
Yes.
On the phone?
Not me, but yeah, some other smartphones.
Right. So just to clarify, what this does is it requires the manufacturer to make available at reasonable cost the tools and documentation necessary so that an independent repair shop can fix their products.
So you're asking Apple to say, okay, here's how you fix our phones, right? 'Cause I'm assuming now if we were to do this and we were to use an independent third-party person that's not verified from them, I guess, would that void the warranty? Like a lot of times, they, you know, if you've got a warranty, if you use outside entity, then it's gone.
Oh, the intent of this bill is that it would no longer void the warranty. Right now, you know, what Apple might tell you is if you take your iPhone to be repaired anywhere but an Apple store, that's going to void the warranty. This would allow independent repair shops to get the knowledge, the tools they need to also make those repairs without voiding the warranty on your phone.
And you're saying you would be able to fix it. I think the gentleman on the end said, so the charging port they talked about, you could fix that, right? But
yes, absolutely. In fact, you'd be amazed at what can be repaired.
Is it more cost efficient to have it fixed or to have it replaced?
I would think so, absolutely. iPhones go for around $1,000. You can do a charge port repair for $15.
$15?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rob's back in business.
This thing also being excluded. Is this for televisions and washing machine? Maybe you'll tell me what does it cover?
Right. It's anything controlled by digital electronics embedded in or attached to the product. Right. So we're talking mostly about things that we think of as digital, but there may also be your coffee maker or your refrigerator is actually there's a digital component.
What about smart televisions?
Yeah. The only thing it doesn't include is cars.
All right. Thank you.
Delegate Miller.
So that's right where we're going to pick this up. The only thing it doesn't include is cars. So large industrial equipment, caterpillars, big dump trucks, if they have electronics and they have smart programming for their engines, they don't appear to be exempted in this bill. So you want to include those because most of the testimony is about small disposable consumer electronics, but big farm equipment. So some farms in Howard County, the farmers paying.
Yeah, the farmers have been some of the strongest advocates. Yeah, there's actually a second bill that's just on.
You actually have some strong opposition too.
Yeah, I know.
So to the bill sponsor, I just want to make sure you knew your intent. You've limited out motor vehicle manufacturers, but you're leaving a wide swath of stuff in here that is not small disposable consumer electronics.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. This bill, you'll hear a separate bill that's focused specifically on farm equipment. This bill is inclusive of all of that as well.
This bill captures farm equipment and large.
And the reason cars are exempt, as we said, is because
I'm just talking to bill sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Delegate Aaron.
To the question about being able to repair this phone, you want to be able to repair the phone, and if something happens to your trying to repair it, you want the manufacturer to still warrant it. Is that what you said?
Right, we want the manufacturers to provide the repair facility with the instructions on what they need to do to be able to repair your phone, whatever tools they would need to be able to repair your phone. And that should not void the warranty just as it is with your car. If you take it to Jiffy Lube, get your oil changed, that's not going to void your warranty.
Not necessarily, but if you make a modification to it, if you change, like, I don't know how many of these you've opened up, but repairing a cell phone isn't a $15 issue. I don't know what on the phone could be done for $15. But I look at the size of a motherboard or something on these things, and you're saying you can repair that better than Apple by replacing that motherboard?
Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. There's two experts in this room right here.
To maintain the warranty after you've done it?
It depends on what the issue is, but yes. There's no reason it shouldn't be, because it is much, I know electronics look complicated, and motherboards look complicated, but an expert working on a motherboard knows what they're doing.
Can you repair a motherboard?
Yes, me personally, no.
But they can be. You can repair a 6-layer motherboard?
Yes, and there are two experts in this room that'll blow you away with what they can do.
No, that's fine, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Steve, just can you touch on if there's any conflict with federal trademark or any federal laws?
Well, the bill specifically exempts trade secrets, so Apple or another company would not have to provide trade secrets to the repair facilities. So.
Okay, I guess I didn't. Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair.
Excludes trade secrets, well, what about copyright law? I imagine that some of the information that are on these devices are copyrighted, and there's probably a reason that they wouldn't want a repair person to have access to that underlying information.
We're not asking for all the information, so the information that this bill asks for is the same information that Apple gives to their techs in the store. I don't think they're giving them proprietary information or copyrighted information. All of the federal copyright laws are still intact. We're not asking for the source code or anything like that. They're literally just asking for the same tools that any 23-year-old who works as an Apple genius gets.
That's the actual name of the tech.
That's what they call them, the Apple genius.
Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, so when you had your store, somebody could come into your store and get their iPhone fixed. You had the capability, it seems like, in certain ways to fix an iPhone.
Yes,
So
sir.
nothing prevented them from doing that. It was just a matter if they wanted to take a chance with you or not, right?
Well, hopefully they weren't taking a chance. But we actually, and when I first started out, when the iPhone first launched, we actually had referrals from Apple stores to our locations before Apple started doing repair work. So yeah, we had a very good reputation in our market, and lots of customers came in. What we're seeing now is that Apple, and I hate to pick on them only, but then again I don't, is very restrictive with what they do to repair. They're trying to cut off flow of parts and supplies. They're trying to serialize parts so that a part can't go into a phone. And obviously they're going to knock down, independent repair as much as they can, which you'll hear from some opposing lobbyists today.
Yeah, I mean, that's business. I mean,
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, they don't, so they've got it, they create it, and they want to do it. But I'm trying to see now, is this, I'm almost thinking this bill is getting bigger than what we're talking about now, about customer repair. Like, this is almost like going after a business model that Apple and Samsung have set in place. Right? I mean, you want to buy an iPhone, you want their technology they have, then you know you're going to have to use compatible Apple earbuds, compatible charging stuff. But you kind of know that's their business model that they set in place.
Well, and I think that really gets to the point of recognizing a consumer's right in owning a product and having the right to repair that product.
Yeah, but don't, they're not saying you can't go to a store like this to get it fixed. They're just saying, if you want us to still keep our name and behind it and back the product, then use one of our service providers.
Sure. With the serialization of parts, for instance, this is a good example of battery. Okay, a battery is something we've all replaced in our cars, and we've done it easily, right? No problems. A battery in a phone, though, they're making it now so that it's serialized to go into a specific phone, and it has to have software to sync that. So as an independent repair tech, if I took one iPhone over here and one iPhone over here and tried to swap the batteries, it would give me a warning message. So even though it's an OEM part, it's going to give me a warning message, and I don't have access to that. There's no danger.
It's kind of business, like, for my key, if I got to have my key replaced, I have to get it linked in, so I got to pay $300 for a key. I don't like it if I lose it, but I mean, it's a key, it's a SIM. I'm sure Delegate Wilson, he's got a Tesla. So I'm sure he would Tesla battery replaced.
And with respect, Delegate, a key is obviously a security concern. A battery is the thing that makes your device go. So just like putting gas in your car, I mean, if you had to pay $300 to get a license to put gas in your car, you probably would not like that car.
Maybe I'll get a Tesla like C2.
This has been a lovely discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Jessica Jones, Louis Rossman, I. Bowie Hall, Maxwell Block, and Matt Fisher.
Mine's not going. It's doing what it's going. I'll head across the street.
Alright, so I'll start. So my name is Louis Rossman. I run a company called Rossman Repair Group in New York. I don't do business in Baltimore, but I've had about $38,000 of business sent to me from customers in Baltimore over the past year and a half. So there seems to be an interest in repair here. What this bill is about is the ability to fix your own stuff. So just to give you an idea of where we're coming from, About 30 or 40 or 50 years ago, when you bought a computer or appliances, they would come with schematics and diagrams if you opened it. If it didn't, you could contact the manufacturer and get access to it. Today, you can't do that, and even if you're an authorized repair center of the manufacturer, you're not allowed access to parts to do your job, even if you do go through all their training, and I included that in the testimony that I provided. There's one chip that goes into one of the newer machines, and it was a charging chip, so that it would charge the battery and allow the machine to turn on. I used to be able to buy this chip for $5 or $10 if I just go to a mouse or a DigiKey. What Apple did is they changed the address of the charge chip on this off-the-shelf part, and then told the company, Ingersil, don't sell this chip to anybody else. If you go to the Apple store to get this device fixed, they will charge you $1,500 if that chip has failed, and none of us are able to buy that chip. If your data is stuck on that device, that means your data is gone. Apple doesn't offer data recovery as a service, so even if you wanted your data recovered, you have no option. And it doesn't mean that we can't. Now, one of you asked, they're not trying to stop you from doing your job. You can still go to an independent. You can, but what that's done is it's criminalized the process of me doing my job. I still get access to that chip. I can't tell you how, but I do. And I just find it strange that I grew up in a culture where buying marijuana was illegal and fixing your devices was, but now getting the chip to fix a MacBook is illegal and you can obtain marijuana. I just find it strange how that part of the culture has changed over the years. There was also one question about warranty, which is, does this mean that if someone brings a product to the store after having it messed up at an independent repair shop, that's still covered under warranty? And no, if a repair center messes up something, the manufacturer could point to it and say, they messed this up, that's not covered under warranty anymore. This bill doesn't affect that Magnuson-Moss Act at all.
All right, I'll go next. Hi, my name is Jessa Jones, and I grew up in Maryland, and I went to College Park, and then I went to grad school at Hopkins. And then since then, I've been living in Rochester for the last 20 years, so I came for this special trip just because this bill is so important to me. I run a repair shop where we do microsoldering of motherboards and iPhones, mostly for the purpose of data recovery. Because the iPhone is so secure, the only way to get those pictures out of that phone when it goes in the toilet or washing machine is to fix the motherboard and get it to turn back on. Now there's a couple things that I really want you guys to know. Number one is that you're going to hear that the consumers have plenty of options for authorized repair, and that's not really true. Authorized repair is manufacturer-controlled repair, which is another word for sales. And if you just think about it, like if you have an iPad and you go to the Apple store with a cracked screen, guess what your options are? Buy a new one. That's it. Apple doesn't repair a simple cracked screen. They don't repair a charge port. They don't repair a headphone jack. They don't fix cameras. It's really, really limited to just screens and batteries. That's the only thing you have an option for. When I was back, I got here I had to fly at 4:30 in the morning. When I got here, one of the pages helped me with this map, which I thought was really cool. This was his idea to show you guys. Look here in pink. 1, 2, 3, Bethesda 4, Bethesda 5. That's your Apple stores, your authorized Apple stores here in Maryland. I grew up down here on the Eastern Shore in Snow Hill. I'd have to take a day off of work and drive all the even to get to the place that can only do a screen or battery for me that can't really fix the device. The other thing that I want you to know is that we can fix a lot of stuff. I can fix your charge port. But that is going away, and I'm seeing that. I just heard Bob tell you an example. Today, if I put a battery from Lewis's iPhone into my iPhone will lose a function because that battery serial number is married to the device that only Apple can reprogram it. That's what we're asking for. That's why I love the Maryland bill, because it includes that. Just give us access to the same little dongles that reprogram and say, fine, this serial number, now that's your charge port, go. And let us do what we've been doing. And I love how you guys responded to the Robocall thing. Maybe you want to move back to me.
Thank you. I'm here with unallocated space. It's a 501c3 makerspace out of Severn, Maryland. I am an electronics technician with 20 years of experience in the field. I work with this makerspace to teach people how to repair their own toys, cell phones, whatever electronics comes to the door. We'll sit down, work with them, and teach them how to do these repairs. They're not all that simple. A certification in this field is certainly useful for a manufacturer point of view. But when you get right down to it,
take like a part and replace it. But now it's getting harder to do that every passing day. I've also had, when I was in between computer jobs, when I was still finding my way, trying to break into the industry and get what some might call a real job, I was working at a package handling facility for UPS, making ends meet, and my LG phone fell out of my pocket, and it shattered, and the screen was completely broken. But because I was able to get the part for like $40, I was able to myself with just a few pictures online, was able to do the repair and slap it in myself with no. And I'm not professionally trained like electrical engineer or anything. I'm still going back to school to finish my classes while I'm working full time. Yeah, if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Hello, my name is Sam Munsmer. I'm 16 years old. I'm a junior in high school. I have run an electronics repair business in Washington, D.C. since I was 12. I'm here today because right to repair is very important to ensuring the longevity of our electronics to become a bigger part of our lives. I believe Jessa and the other panel mentioned the software locks that Apple's been putting in place on the batteries on the iPhone 11s and the newer models. Apple, I actually have a quote here from Apple that they responded to this saying, it's unsafe for people other than Apple authorized service providers to replace their batteries. I've been replacing batteries in iPhone since I was 12. I'm still here today. Got my iPhone right here. You can just pull you literally, there's some screws in here, you take the screen off, you pull some tabs out and the battery comes out. I don't see how that's unsafe. They also, many manufacturers, like they mentioned before, they won't give us electrical schematics. They say it's like an intellectual property issue, giving us access to that information would compromise their intellectual property. I don't really think that's a valid argument. I can make that schematic if I look at the device and go around for several hours with a multimeter probing around figuring out where stuff goes. Also, a lot of companies have shown that that's not an intellectual property issue. This is an electrical schematic that I found tucked into the bottom of my Bosch dishwasher while I was fixing some electrical wires the other day after a rat chewed through them. So this piece of paper helped me fix that dishwasher with an 80-cent piece of wire and a $20 drain hose, as opposed to paying the $450 that we were quoted by the Bosch factory service technician. If I were able to get parts or schematics like this for things like this, I also repair motherboards. Jessica taught me how to repair motherboards. I went to her class. If I were able to get those schematics for an iPhone like this, I would be able to keep hundreds more devices out of a landfill and keep consumers from having to spend thousands of dollars on new devices. I encourage a favorable report, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions of this panel? Seeing none, thank you all for coming.
Could I also add, I would also like a favorable report.
All right, thank you all very much.
Nicely done. Very good.
Thank you. We will now move to the application. Biz Nolet, John Cavazza, actually Alan Schaefer and Larry Albert.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. John Cavazza with Manis Canyon and Associates. I'm here today on behalf of the Entertainment Software Association. I'm not sure I can be as compelling as the last group that was at the panel, which is very good. The Entertainment Software Association, we are based, you've heard a lot about phones, right? You've heard a lot of talk about iPhones and iPhones. We are video game console manufacturers. We are video game developers. So we're in a little bit of a different business, and we're included in this bill also. You've heard, there's two critical parts for us to be successful, right? One, we've heard about consumers. Well,
obviously, we don't exist without our consumers. The gaming community is a very, very passionate group of people. They are a very vocal group of people, and when they're not happy, we hear about it. So it's in our interest to be responsive to them. It's in our interest to provide them with the best possible products and service that we can. We believe we do that. And the second part, we also don't exist without protecting our intellectual property, our content. And this bill is a direct threat at that content. We've heard about small business. We all support small businesses. Well, guess what? We have a hub of developers that have been in Hunt Valley in Baltimore County for over 30 years. In a lot of cases, startup software developers. And all they have is their intellectual property and their content. That is their company. So they don't exist if they don't have those protections. One final thing I'll add before I turn it over to Catherine and Ben from ESA. There was a comment earlier about trade secrets and that sort of thing and them being exempt. That's exempt in this bill. This bill doesn't require that. This bill actually explicitly requires trade secrets to be turned over. If you look on page 4 of the bill, except as necessary to comply with the terms of the subtitle, you can't require somebody to divulge a trade secret. So that's an explicit requirement that to comply with the bill, you do have to turn over. So I just wanted to clarify that point for the committee, and with that, I'll turn it over to Catherine and Ben, who have far more expertise than I do. Thanks.
Hi, thank you so much. Good afternoon, committee and vice chair. My name is Catherine Gunter, and I'm with the Entertainment Software Association. I just wanted to quickly kind of speak to this bill. It's been discussed as, fixing screens, and it's an Apple problem. We represent the video game industry, as John said, and in our view, this is not just a screen-fixing bill. This is the mandate of intellectual property to unauthorized repair shops. People who play video games represent a very diverse cross-section of the United States. We have every age and gender, and as John mentioned, we have over 40 companies that are based here, including one of ESA's largest members, Bethesda. We've also heard that repairs are more expensive. Our companies take it upon themselves to get their repairs fixed as quickly and affordably as possible so we can get our consoles back in the working hands of our players that are working the same way that they bought them. These are very expensive machines, and we want to make sure that when repairs are done, they're done with a level of specificity and technicality where nothing can go wrong. There's a lot of parts that talk to each other, as been said before, and that's done to protect the copyrighted products that are inside of our secure platforms. Ben, one of my colleagues, will speak specifically to the IP questions and the federal law that we discussed earlier, but I just wanted to emphasize that as an industry, we really oppose the digital right to repair. And I'll yield the remaining time to Ben.
Thank you. My name is Ben Goland, and I appreciate being before you today. I'm the Chief Counsel of Intellectual Property Policy at ESA, and I just want to stress how important copyright law is to our members. Without copyright law, there would be no businesses in the video game business. And copyright law is important in this particular context because content protection is critical to prevent piracy. And we're concerned that this bill that would allow or prevent, or I should say, share information with others would somehow cause more piracy to occur because you're providing the technical know-how to unlock these digital locks that prevent piracy on these particular consoles. More important, we're talking a lot about trade secrets, talked about trademarks, but it really is copyright. And copyright is a federal law, and in fact, when the issue of repair came before the Copyright Office in 2018, the Copyright Office said that of all the electronics out there, the importance of content protection for video game consoles is more than anything else. And so they had an exemption for us that said that there's no need for repair for consoles because the underlying content and the content protection tools under Section 1201 of the DMCA protect that particular content, and federal law abides. And in fact, it's important to point out that in Section 1201A2, of the DMCA, the Millennium Copyright Act, it says, no person shall manufacture, import, offer to the public, provide, or otherwise traffic in any technology, product, service, device, component, or part thereof. So there's an anti-trafficking provision in federal law in which would provide a conflict if Maryland decided to have this bill before it. And I'll be happy to answer any questions for you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Alan Schaefer. I'm Executive Director of the Diesel Technology Forum. We're a not-for-profit educational organization headquartered in Frederick, Maryland, established in the year 2000. Over the last 2 decades, we've spent a lot of time here in Annapolis and working with the Maryland Department of the Environment, supporting regulations and initiatives to reduce and use diesel emissions from all kinds of machines and equipment. Just 2 years ago, we were here in Annapolis in support of since-enacted legislation from then Delegate, now Senator Clarence Lamb, to establish higher fines and penalties for those found to be emitting excessive exhaust emissions from pickup trucks, a practice known as rolling coal. I'm here today to express my opposition to House Bill 1124 because if it's enacted, it will make Maryland's air dirtier, not cleaner. It will jeopardize heavy equipment safety both for farmers, service technicians, and the general public that share the roads, and facilitate a practice that is potentially in violation of the Federal Clean Air Act. Now, diesel engines power almost all farm equipment today because they are efficient, powerful, durable, reliable, and now near zero emissions. They are near zero emissions because manufacturers have invested billions of dollars to develop advanced emissions control systems that are all controlled by engine management computers. It includes exhaust after-treatment systems that require periodic maintenance and replenishment of certain kinds of fluids. And this practice of right to repair opens up the blueprints and, frankly, Pandora's box for increasing emissions from this kind of machines and equipment across all applications. It's true that illegal tampering is happening now, but this practice of right to repair would hand over the keys to the car and make it happen a lot worse in the future. So for anyone who cares about the Chesapeake Bay and water quality, I was surprised to hear some of the previous testimony from the clean water groups. This could potentially increase emissions of nitrogen oxide, which we all know is what we don't want for the Bay. We don't want that for clean air in Montgomery County, and we don't want it for Maryland's air quality compliance. There's also the safety factor, which is quite high, and I don't think anyone driving home tonight that might have to pass a tractor on a back road would want to see a part fly off of that, or suddenly the machine become disabled, or catch fire because someone improperly tampered with those emissions controls. So for all those reasons and others, we encourage your support, unfavorable report on HB 1134. 24.
Great, thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Yes. Hi, my name is Larry Albert. I'm the Director for Product Safety, Compliance, and Standards for the Power Tool Group of Stanley Black & Decker, which is located in Towson, Maryland. Thank you for this opportunity to address the committee today. On this important topic, I'm here to speak against HB 1124, which we believe puts the consumer at risk of injury rather than protecting them. Black & Decker has had a presence in Maryland for over 100 years, has over 2,000 employees working in Maryland, and it is still headquartered, and the Power Tool Group is still headquartered in Towson. We design, build, and sell power tools and electric outdoor power equipment worldwide. We are members of trade associations, Power Tool Institute, and the Outdoor Power Equipment Institute, both of which, as we do, stress the importance of product safety in all of our actions. There's a huge amount of effort put into ensuring that all power tools and related equipment are safe, and that has always been the case through all different types of technology. Nowadays, most of modern power tools and outdoor power equipment use embedded microcontrollers, which utilize software to control their operation. Manipulation of the software, changing the electronics, can influence the safety of these tools to the effect that people could be injured when using a power tool that's been modified in such a way. We firmly support the principle of repair, which means to us bringing the tool back to its original operating condition. We oppose the actions of this bill, which would open the access to electronics, schematics, and software that would permit people to make changes to the operational code and circuitry that would influence the safety of these power tools and put operators at risk of injury. It is true that tampering is always taking place with power tools. People take guards off and people modify other kinds of aspects of the tool, but these are fairly obvious types of changes, so that people that are about to use a power tool that's been modified in that way, in a physical way, are aware of the changes taking place, the risk they're incurring. The kinds of changes that are proposed that could occur as a result of the proposed bill would make it such that software could be modified in such a way as to make a tool that was running at a certain speed now run much faster and cause, for example, grinding wheels to fly apart, causing injury. These are more insidious types of changes that are not obvious to the user of the tool. Urge you to deliver an unfavorable report at HB 1124. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Questions for this panel? Delegate Sharkudian, Delegate Jackson, and Delegate Howard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I was listening to the previous panel, trying to read through some of the both proponents and opponents' testimony, and I think there's this issue around the cars, and I understand that issue has sort of been addressed through an MOU procedure instead of legislation. But it seems to me that it's analogous, these two gentlemen here, to this idea of a very technically complex, potentially dangerous, it's driving down the street, we don't want brakes flying off. And yet we seem to have a solution that works. And so I'm wondering, is it the concept of having this kind of a solution that works, of having independent repair shops that you're opposed to, or is it some specifics that are in the bill that we might be able to modify so that it would better mirror what has been very successful in the context of car repair?
Manufacturers have a working understanding right now the way to address that question specifically. I think another panel coming up may speak to that more specifically.
So you mean that question being like, how could we mirror what's done with car repair in these other areas?
Ways to address the concerns about safety and excess emissions from farm and industrial equipment.
So I guess my question is, because we also have emission standards for cars, right?
But that was a separate MOU, right?
So my question is, what is it that we can learn, if this bill, it sounds like you're saying is flawed, I'm not sure I agree with that, but if that's what you're saying, then what is it we could do that takes what's working well with independent car repair and apply it to this broader set of items that we're talking about here? And it might be different for different ones, but specifically in this case, you're saying you're worried about emissions, you're saying you're worried about safety. We have those same problems potentially with cars, and we solved it. We've got a good solution. So what is it we would need to do to take that same solution and apply it for the heavier machinery, the farm equipment, the whatever it is that you're concerned this doesn't work?
I think industry would be happy to work with you, and we have language that might help address some of those concerns.
That would allow for independent repair?
Manufacturers of farm equipment have agreed, starting in January of next year, to provide access to their machines and equipment in terms of the electronics and also an understanding of some of that software, so that there can be that kind of operation done. But I would recommend that that question be addressed to the subsequent panels of manufacturers directly. It would be best qualified to answer your question.
Okay. And what about the other heavy equipment that you're talking about, that you're saying the safety concerns? And again, I'm saying that cars are pretty heavy equipment.
Right.
With potential safety.
So these are essentially power tools and outdoor power equipment, which are, have safety implications just because they move in place and things of that nature. We do, and most of the members of the industry currently provide assemblies that are available to owners of products to replace assemblies that are faulty in their equipment, so they can bring their equipment back up to original operational condition. We do not, however, provide schematics, software, source code, and so on, right? That level of granularity.
It's done with cars. The stuff that is done and is effective with independent car repair. That's the stuff you don't supply? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think most of this is not providing access to the internal software, for example, that's operating the tool, such that the tool can be altered in its operation by someone who were to change that software. That's really the objection.
Okay, thank you.
Delegate Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I heard some of the terms intellectual property and copyright, but from some of the testimony that I heard, it seems like these independent operations just kind of want to have access to the parts and know how to replace these parts. Am I missing something?
Well, according to the bill, it looks as if that source code and other digital tools necessary to fix a particular machine or video games console would be required. So a video games console manufacturer would have to give those tools and schematics and the underlying know-how how the code works to an unauthorized repair person. And because of that, it leads to the fact that it breaks the chain of trust that we as an industry have with authorized repair people. We certainly know that repair people are honest, but there just needs to be one person who would take the code and then open up the machine and allow all legally copied video games to be played in that particular console.
So why would you need a code to change a battery in a cell phone? like, why does the iPhone 6 that I had, why can I change that battery but can't in my iPhone 8? Like, why is a code needed to change the battery?
That you'll have to ask Apple, where we represent the video game console industry and not the cell phone industry, so they probably know better than we do.
I think it was Delegate Howard and then Delegate Wilson.
So I do agree with you, gentlemen. I do think the bill is pretty broad, but when you look at it in the context of the last speakers, one of the things Maryland's done is put a lot of investment into maker spaces and things like that to try to incubate, like we saw these two young men come up here and talk. And John, maybe you guys can specifically talk about, I mean, how does that square with what we're trying to do as far as these? And again, I do think that there needs to be some bifurcation on safety equipment and you know, versus data disaster recovery services. But at the same time, I mean, you know, the crux of a lot of previous testimony